We are live and in person, and we're going to get ready to roll this session of Empower Me. So, hello and welcome and good morning to you wonderful people. It's good to see you. Welcome to the second review session of Empower Me. Yes, yeah, right on, right? Think about this. So, before we get really kicked into some of the book learning and the real life learning today, I just want to point out something that if you're not giving yourself credit for, we need to take a moment and pause and give credit. This program is, in my opinion, at times deceptively simple, right? I gave you a book that's only got 6 pages in it. You get to kind of self-guide and self-pace, get to kind of pick and choose your way. It seems pretty straightforward, right? But what we learn is I got to do it on my own time. I got to switch up priorities. I got to make arrangements. And that's hard. That is not a simple or easy piece. You can say, I'll do it, but then the actual doing it, life likes to get in the way. So this meeting to me is very significant because the first one is kind of like, oops, was I supposed to be somewhere Wednesday night? But this is the second meeting, and you guys are all locked in, came in, and this is a significant moment. It's not in the book, but it's one of the first learning experiences that I'd like you to kind of think about is that when folks make that decision that I want to make improvements in my current state, I want to apply myself to a future state, kind of getting in tune with your discipline and making these commitments is a significant step. So I applaud you. Thank you so much. I mean it wholeheartedly. It warms the very cockles of my soul. Someone look that word up. Make sure I used it right. Okay. So we're going to talk about today, this morning, we're going to talk about become aware of your strengths. Strategically, tactically, this is the second topic. It's very important to kind of sink our teeth into this at this point after talking about goals. I'm very passionate about it. But I also want to tell you, keeping in line with what we do at EmpowerMe, we also want to bring leaders in on this to kind of walk us through each topic. And this topic, the leader that we have for you today is phenomenal. He's very much into strengths. He just ran his leadership team through a strengths finder session. You may have heard of him before. The V stands for victory. Mike Veilleux, come over and take over the meeting, my man.
What a yes, they're in the hallway making that sound now. I love it. Yes, what a introduction, Red. Thank you very much. So, guys, a lot of familiar faces in here, but not going to assume everybody knows me like Red as V for Victory. I told him a story last night. That's why he said that. So just to fill everybody in, like when you have to like spell your name over the phone, and my last name's Veilleux, so like everybody always butchers it, and they're like, "Is D E?" They're like, "No, V for Victory," and that's my play every time when I have to spell my name. So that's why I say that. Yeah, it's funny. But Mike Veilleux. I'm a team manager here in Oakland over Oak 10, Club 10, Pod 19. We're a New Jersey community, and we do big things down here. So Red alluded to something that I've done recently with my group, and I'll kind of give a little bit of perspective and backstory on the whys and how. So guys, I started on the phones 10 years ago at 24 years old. Kind of in college, kind of like coming out of other jobs, not really knowing what I was going to be doing with my life. Never, thought I was going to be a manager at any point in T-Mobile, and didn't didn't really know what I was good at. Didn't know my own strengths, right? And through the first couple of years of my career here at T-Mobile, was able to figure out the role responsibility, the tools and resources of frontline, and through that, I was able to, find myself in a program once upon a time called Magenta 4. Red facilitates that with coaches that are going to be working towards manager. And in that program, he had strength finders as a part of it. And, that was all the way back in like 2014 for me. And it's something that I still use with my people today, and still try and embody my own strengths that I was able to pull from that all the way back then, because we'll get into the meat and potatoes of what you guys took from it. But I look back to that for me and what it did for me in my career. I maybe looked at some of those things at that time and said, like, what does that word even mean, first and foremost? And then, like, how does that affect me as a human, not even just in T-Mobile, but in life? Because, these things that we're talking about today, they're strengths, they're typically like talents. They're things like you're intuitively, innately born with. Like, some of you have strengths that some of you will never, ever, ever be good at. And it's just how it is. Like, I'll never be able to dunk. I'm 5'11", 300 pounds. I am not dunking, but like, that's just not innately in me, right? But some people have that, right? But other people like me and Steph Curry can jack up threes all day long and sink buckets, right? I'm just kidding. I can't jack up threes and sink buckets. But moral of the story, through that Strength Finders, activity, was able to kind of leverage some of the things that it gave me in my day-to-day, time at T-Mobile. Things like, I'll give you a couple of mine real quick, like futuristic, like looking ahead and planning. Restorative, like being able to navigate difficult situations and pivot on a dime, right? Those are things that I didn't necessarily know at that time that I was good at or know how to leverage, but I went after those things. I learned how to be even more effective in those areas. And now it's something that I leverage in my day-to-day activities with my people, my teams, and the site. So really want to talk about you though, and kind of gave you that as a lead in to kind of think about what we're going to talk about today and how it impacts you. So we got a little bit larger of a group today than what we had last night, and I think with that I'm going to try and play it the same way, the best to our ability, and really have everybody participate as much as possible. So be prepared. I might call on you. With that, I'm going to open it up first to kind of for people to jump in. But I want to make sure we have the same impact we did last night with breaking this down. And with this whole strengths activity, the thing that we want to talk about is what did you get for identified strengths? Is it something that you would recognize in yourself? If so, how do you own it? And then what do you do with it? Where do you aim it? I think Red's got a little jingle. It's like something, claim it, aim it. Was it?
You're way ahead of script, but yes, I do have. It's called Name It, Claim It.
Name it. I forgot the name it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was just catchy, and I wanted to sprinkle a little bit of a prequel for what's to come. So let's name it. Talk to me about what you guys found comes naturally and easy to you, and that you identified in this, and if there was anything maybe that you didn't think would be there. Hit it.
Yeah.
Wilson, hit it.
I mean, I find that one of my biggest strengths is just organization stuff. With organization skills and I don't know. I like to have everything all online. Have it all like drawn out, planned. I've always been like that with everything, with home, personal life and work life, just having everything all figured out. I mean, I used to have a binder that had almost every promo and offer and policy that every coach would come over and try to take from me. Just because I was so organized with it. I knew where pages were, and I find that being one of my biggest strengths is being able to stay organized all the time.
Love it. What about you, Miller?
Definitely not organization. So doing the test thing, the high five, my number one was analyst, which I do. I really like to problem solve. I've always been like that. And sometimes to a fault. Like my CRT sometimes trying to figure shit out goes way over,
No way. Never.
The one that I was surprised about that I got was my number 4 was commander, which I've never thought of myself as. Like leader, yes, but not commander. And maybe it's just that word that my mind is thinking like militant type of stuff, but that was the one that surprised me, was the commander one.
Now,
Why? Can I ask
yeah, go
why?
for it.
Why did that surprise you?
I've always been more of a laid back. I'm not a very, I don't know how to explain it. People that know me know what I'm talking about. But
Fair.
I've never been like in your face. Like when I see
Right.
commander, I think like drill sergeant. Like this is what you're gonna do. This is how you're gonna do it. And I'm
Yeah.
more of a, you know, take it upon yourself. Like I will help guide you,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna sit there and tell you exactly what to do and how to do it.
Shano, did you get an opportunity in your results to expand the field?
Yeah, and like read
Yes,
through. Yeah.
I did, and that explained it a little bit. So your objective is to take charge and direct people, which again was not how I see myself. You enjoy stepping forward and lead the team in any situation. You don't show up empty-handed. With your experience, you'll form strong opinions, and you're excited to align others with them. In this process, you aren't afraid of confrontation when you're presenting your views. On the contrary, you feel that confrontation and open discussion are the first step towards an agreement. Those who dare take a stand and share a clear vision always attract followers, and you're no different. If you also master the art of listening to others, you will be a respected and fearless leader.
Woo! He's
Love that.
a
So,
powerful kind of guy right there.
so first thing, Sean, I'm a Capricorn too. I know that's an inside joke. It's an inside joke because sometimes when we read these things, it reads a little bit like a horoscope, and so you're kind of like, hey, maybe I am, right? But here's my question to you, because I think this is a moment, and as we go and listen to everyone else's insights, I want them to kind of layer in. So I love the fact you're like, Commander, I don't think they got this one right. Right? I don't see myself that way. I'm not sure how I feel about that. So, and that's why I was curious if you expanded it, because there's a whole lot of stuff in there. And what I heard in there was, as you were reading out some things, there was a section where you stopped the reading to put your kind of your caveat, right? You were like, again, I don't think that's me, right?
Right.
So in the name it, in my jingle, name it, claim it and shit, aim it phase. Spend that time in the name it. And what I want you to do is give yourself some latitude. And here's what my piece means is how we see ourselves is the second step after the name it phase. So while you're in the name it phase, all I want you to do is to say, could I, have I, how you feel about that in that moment is kind of, it's something you want to address after first academically you say, no, you know what? I mean, if I was standing in a room and people didn't know which room to take, which door, I can take and direct them. I need this group here, I need that group there.
Yeah.
Kind of approach versus right now you hear commander and you think, I think you use the term in your face, right? So
Right.
what I want you to do is just give yourself latitude to go, if not in your face, are there tenets of what was described there that you've seen yourself do in the past? And don't qualitate that score just yet. Just
Okay.
so it's still possible. You're like, no, Red, not a freaking one time have I ever done X, right? And I respect that. But I want, as we go through this, and we're seeing this for a lot of us, we might not have ever taken a self-assessment like this before. And so there's the whole kind of, all right, I'll give it a shot, and I don't know how I feel about it. And you don't want to move beyond it too soon. So I want to just challenge you, stay in this name it phase that Mike's walking you through.
Okay.
And be open though. If you're still saying, man, it still feels like, a jacket that's not my color, that's fine. But also, be open enough to say, but I have done it before, because we'll talk to you about how that might play out when we get to the claim it phase.
Okay.
Cool.
That's fair.
Thanks.
And I'd add to that, last night's group had a very similar context with an individual's perspective on their strengths, right? So I mean, like, it's not just you, Miller, that maybe had that thought. I'm sure others in this room even had, that reflection during that. And, I think what I also heard, having worked with you for many, many moons, influencer and communicator are in different words. It doesn't come out and label those two things, but like that's what it says to me, is like kind of red. Like if you were in a place and people didn't know what they were doing, like you're going to figure it out and step up. You're going to communicate what your expectations are, and you're going to have influence on those people because you're going to make that decision. And I think that comes through in that. And I've always known you for that in my time with you. So I would definitely identify that as a strength.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. I think it's just, like I said, it's the word commander that comes across as.
You said it's militant too. It's got that
label.
Yeah.
Yep. So Mower talked. How about you, buddy? What you got?
Yeah, I'm down for this. Yeah, mine are actually super on brand. Like Megan would, can attest to this. Is like analyst came up first, and like, that's really kind of on brand for me. Anybody that knows me, it's like I have to know things. I have I have an obsession with just knowing as much as possible about everything. And then like I really, ironically right on here, thinker, coach, problem solver, they all line up with my brand that everybody knows me for. It's just getting really deep into these really complex issues and being able to think through them. And I get right into it. I get obsessed with just knowing what. And so, yeah, these are actually really on brand for me.
I can understand that more. More and I go back many years as well, and I remember many.
Baby.
That's right, and I think a lot of those days spent together were doing a lot of those things right there. So I know I know you've claimed them, and I'll challenge you right now. Like, what are you doing today, April 14th, 2022, to kind of start to use that stuff?
Yeah, for me and my group, with at least in my community, I'm really a point man on solving really complex issues that we run into for anything. So I'm networking with business support on high level issues that we run into, and so just in the P&L stage, just saving us as much money as we go through it. Solving a lot of issues with these, we get a bunch of new faces, and so really solving their integration. It just layers. Anytime there's a problem to be solved, I'm involved in it in my group.
I like it. I'm going to challenge you again. That's what I'm here to do. On quantifying and correlating your success with these things, right? Like, how do you know you're being successful with your aims and what you're trying to do? So I would love for you to follow up with me on that, because I want to get more people involved here. But like, just think about that as you walk away, and as you're going from this session to the next session, and Red's going to be asking questions about this to potentially start. How did you apply these things, and what did you get out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll challenge you first in the group. Use those things and be able to talk to what impact it had, because that's when you really can harness this stuff. Is like, not only do you know your strength, but you apply your strength, and then you're able to quantify it and speak to it. And I think that that's something that you'll be able to do with that more.
For sure.
Good stuff.
Also, when you're explaining your name, you're missing a huge opportunity to go V for Vendetta.
V for Vendetta. Rolls off the tongue too.
Yeah.
Good. It rolls off the tongue. All right, so guys, I want to try and get as much participation as possible. So I'm going to hit Katie up next. Where we at? What do you got for strikes, and what are you looking to do with them?
So yeah, some of the strengths I would agree with Mower. I definitely knew that was gonna, like, one of the tests that I haven't taken, but very similar things as like focus expert. So when there's something coming up, it's like I need to know the plan it a month ahead, a week ahead, like need to know the insights, try to put in like my whole year ahead. Timekeeper, surprise, once again, I hate surprises. So trying to balance that, especially when it comes to working in the site. It's like, surprise, you're doing an SLT tomorrow, and I'm like profusely sweating to make it all happen. The whole name it, that's going to be definitely a challenge with one of these, and it's just the wording. So I'm going to kind of say it, but I'm probably not pronouncing it right. Filiomath. So I definitely had to dig into that, because I've never either heard the word, knew what it was, and I don't know if I can always name it. But it's one of those things is like, once I learn what I call my golden nugget, I like to share it. So share best practices, lead from example, but how can we make it better for Oakland, like pain points, promo dashboard, worked with business support on like making sure we're being the other Meridian call center on this promo pilot because we always want to be number one. Commander didn't surprise me. I don't love the wording. I agree there, but I do love training my new hires and stuff like that. The one that I did not ever get on any assessment before, and I do not love that it's here, but I'll go with it because sharing is caring, is self-believer. So anyone that really knows me, I'll be like, give me feedback. How did I do? Give me like the bad. I always want to know like the worst. Maybe I like had big snot hanging from my nose, right? I have a hard time public speaking, which is weird being in the L&D world and having site-led trainings, but I don't feel the confidence at all. I always kind of like it says like know your judgment, know your worth. Yeah, no. Like on other tests, it's like no, you seek it from others. So I love like knowing the trophies in crowd, like those goals are on my goals. Like maybe eventually winner circle, all those things are on like my bucket list. But that self believer, like believing it here, no. So when they're like, surprise, you won like quarter one, quarter two, I'm like, cool. I don't want the picture either. Like I just want the dang trophy. But the self believer piece of it, I've done a bunch of trainings with Sharples, Amanda Sharples, sorry, Red, for like tech advocacy, like getting the tech world better. And like I branded that way. I've worked with people that are outside of Oakland on like, hey, bring this to like global care, which is great. Like I like sharing those nuggets, but as far as like that belief in yourself, I did not see that as a strength at all.
I think it's all great stuff, Katie, and I challenge you the same way as Mower to quantify it and create a believer in yourself by being able to speak to what you've done, right? And I think you kind of highlighted some of those things in where you were going with it. But when we have the aim it piece, right, and you're really, we're gonna get there more, but when you're looking at like how it applies, right? Think about where you want to go and how these things are going to help you get there. And you may not necessarily feel comfortable doing them, but like you're strong in those areas, right? And that's why you are, why you are where you are, right? You wouldn't be where you're at if those weren't things that other people saw and knew that you were going to be able to handle and navigate. So good stuff. We're about halfway.
Can I ask a real quick question? Miss Katie,
Yeah.
Can I, just to make sure I heard, you said something about feedback, that you're comfortable receiving feedback, or that you're actually, you ask for it? Did I hear that right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that has changed. But yeah, so it's always like how to get better, right? So like, especially with those site-led trainings that I had to learn promos more than I knew anything about promos before in my life. Like I thought I knew promos pretty good, teaching them to my new hires, but Butler's like, hey, we have this promo pilot. And I'm like, they had worksheets and I wasn't coming out with those same answers and I had to present it to the site that I had the same answers that National came up with. And I'm like, so we had to like navigate that whole process with Butler, and I haven't really worked with her a lot, and that was way outside of my comfort zone. So I'm like, tell me, like, come to this training, tell me what I did wrong. And she's like, I thought it was great. And I had like a list of all the things I thought I did wrong. But she's like, no, it was great. I think they understood it. You had good presentation. I wouldn't really change anything. And I was like, oh, okay.
All right. So I'm going to suggest something for you, and then we're not going to put you on the spot. I'm just going to make a suggestion. Then we'll let Mike move on. But so a lot of us in this room, feedback is not the first time you ever heard that word, correct? You know, little head nods.
Correct.
We've all heard the word. We probably have been on one end or the other. But those of us in leadership will tell you that there is a rarity when folks are eager for it, right? So our job is to deliver it. We have no choice in the matter. We must deliver it. But the scale starts to get pretty wide on those that are like looking for it, that, take that proactive step and say, hey, how am I doing? So from the self-belief piece, what it tells me is that there's something in the core that is solid and is on a firm foundation. When someone says, I need to know how I did, what I'm hearing you say is you're really right now working through your comfort level on what you do well, on where you land. You're not sure your comfort level with it yet. But when we talk about self-belief from a talent perspective, I would challenge you to say, spend some time in just the very fact that you ask for it. That you'll ask Butler, you've asked me before. Apparently, Sam Cassidy says you won't stop asking. I read the chat. So just so spend some time on that. And if you walk by on one of your, your tours of the site there, stop by and tell me if you've given it any thought. Does it change a little bit on this particular talent? Would that be fair?
Yeah, fair.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Sorry, Mike.
No, I love it. It's good perspective. So before I jump into anybody else, I just kind of want to highlight something that kind of came up naturally yesterday that we didn't dive into yet. And it's, why strengths, right? And because, we talk about a lot in T-Mobile, and, we just brought up feedback, what kind of triggered this, we focus a lot about what people aren't great at, right? We focus a lot of the time on feedback around things we're doing wrong, and how we need to take that thing that we're doing wrong and get better at it, right? And a lot of people spend a lot of time in life working on trying to dunk at 5'11" and never being able to dunk because you're 5'11", right? And that's just something that we all need to kind of take with us walking out of here is, not that I'm telling you not to go offer on your calls because you don't think you sell good, or that, don't work on experience because you don't think you're nice. Like, that's not what I want us to walk away with, right? But knowing that, at the end of the day, if you could apply something that you're good at in an area that you're strong in to help you with revenue, or to help you with experience, or to help you in life achieve your ultimate goal, then that's going to be the path of least resistance, and it's going to be the path that's going to help you achieve that in an easier fashion. So I want to kind of spin this a little bit and has there anybody else taken this quiz that I haven't called on yet that I can use as the next example? All right, Megan, so you're up. So with that, I want us to look at, like, what is your dream job, and, like, what's it going to take for you to get there? And did any of the things that you identified as strengths fit into what might help you get there? And if so, what and how is that going to be a thing?
That's a lot of layers.
Sure is. I knew you could handle it, so that's why I asked.
It's a tall sandwich,
So,
brother.
oh yes. I mean, really, ideally, I'd love anything where I can just teach. So obviously, like, my big goal since day one walking into T-Mobile was I want to be a trainer. Like, that is like where I want to go, where I've had my sights set. So when I took the quiz, I'm not at all surprised. My top first thing was I'm an empathizer. I connect with people. I'm actually an empath. So, like, when things go differently in the call center, I can feel it almost immediately. And then I have to really find a way to differentiate, is that my feelings or is that the people around me, kind of thing. But my second thing on the list was I'm a coach. I like to develop people's potential, believe that there's always room for improvement, and I think that really does ring through for me. I'm always trying to help people find different ways that they can just better themselves, whether it be at work, in life, in school, whatever the case may be. And so I really think that I just really need to hone those skills and find a way to connect with even just now, like, my peers. I think Sean could probably attest to this since we're in the same community. Like, I'm always trying to boost morale, help people, reach out, and even I'm looking to grow myself. So I also kind of need, like, that extra, like, hey, like Katie said, looking for feedback. Like, where can I improve? How can I do better? And how can I use that to also improve those around me? Being a CE has really helped me see that there is so much more talent than I even knew within our call center. Even just, like, so many people have so many things they're just afraid to bring out of themselves, and I really want to help to just kind of bring them out of their shells. And I just need to really work on honing those skills, I think.
Well, I think you're doing the right thing by being here and working on it, right? And this is just one piece of the puzzle, but I think what you also talk on is owning it and communicating it, and involving people around you to help you. And for all of you, if you have identified strengths that you want to go and hone in on, my best advice for you is to communicate. Like, hey, coach, I'm thinking that, I want to make a play at this stuff that I've found recently that I can probably be a little bit more effective in, and what it's going to do is it's going to help the community this way. The empathizer and the coach, a lot of those things we talked about yesterday with our group were really around like, what does this stuff do for like culture in your environment? So Meg brings up a lot of great points around like being a supporter of others and creating a place where people want to come to work. Like that right now for you is stuff you can do today that's going to help you get to where you want to go. And again, I challenge you to quantify these things because they're odd. They're not things you would typically quantify. But like, I know like this would be tied to attrition and how many people get done in your group, or like how many people are come to work every day that are on your team. Like all of those things are things that kind of play into what you're talking about, and I really think those are the things that are going to help you get to where you want to go. So good stuff. Betsy, I saw you raise your hand too. I want to get to you and talk a little bit about what you had from a strengths perspective, and again, if you want to tie it to any career aspirations and how you think it's going to help you get there, or if you thought they were things that didn't tie to it or not. I want to hear about it.
Thanks, Mike. So, yeah, I felt like it was spot on. And the number one thing for me was brainstormer, which, I think that in the past, in my educational experiences was more like, dreamer. I was never, people or around me in the past felt like I was not focused or I was all over the place, which I think felt like negativity. But really, I feel like it was a strength of mine because the last few things that it said as a brainstormer is that, as a result, you see others see you as an innovator who's willing to able to turn the world around. You are a team's fountain of creativity, so others naturally come to you for your ideas that are out of the box. So it really was reassuring that something that I have gotten feedback as a negative is actually a strength. And I'm a very creative person. I do think out of the box. I think differently sometimes, and just being able to put that into words and make it something that applies to my career will be an interesting path. And I feel like how I've used this so far is this past month, I've been promoted to expert, which to me was giant. And I have Katie to thank for that too. And the associate's degree level amount of training that we all go through here to start at T-Mobile. But the amount I've continued to just be absorbing all of the stuff that you can learn at T-Mobile. It's voluminous. And it's been really fun now to sort of start feeling like, okay, I think I have a understanding of how the rhythm here works. And I can see down the line, once I feel like I have more of a grasp of that, of anytime there's a pain point, it's like a think out of a box thing. So that's what I foresee being able to use some of my strengths are, but I don't really know, but I'm looking forward to just riding the bike for now and see.
First and foremost, congratulations on getting to expert. First of many
Thanks.
achievements I see coming your way. Also, second thing, you used like a 20-point Scrabble letter in there, so good job on that. Did anybody catch it and want to try and say it?
Was it voluminous?
Voluminous?
Yeah,
Hell
red stopped. I saw it, and Red was
Jaw
like,
drop. Yes.
voluminous. I saw a multi-word.
No, but I love both of those things first and foremost. But I think with what you're talking about and how things can be perceived in some areas as feedback, right? But when you look in through a different lens and you apply it in a different context, it becomes a strength. And one of the things about this company, and I think a lot of us in this room can speak on, we've seen this happen, is change is welcomed, right? And always finding the best way to do something. And if there is something broken, trying to get it fixed. I'm working a lot with revenue right now, and there's the new value added service metric component.
Yeah.
I get stuff all day from people that are like, Mike, this is broken. Mike, this is broken. And it's people like you, Betsy, that see those things, right? You see the problems, you bring it to attention, and you leverage your strength to be able to say, hey, this is something that I see that could fix something, right? There's plenty of space in T-Mobile for that, Betsy, and I think that's something that you'll be able to absolutely leverage in your growth. So I'm excited to see you take that and now aim it into this world, right? And make something with it, because it's definitely there for you to go grab.
Thanks, Mike. Awesome.
Anybody else want to go? We got a few minutes of sharing, and then I'm going to let Red wrap it up. Go for it, Sean. Second Sean, third Sean. We got 3 Seans in here.
Oh,
the third
too many.
Sean that was here first, so this Sean was on time. So Sean Dorman, you can go.
Okay. So I would say for me, so one of the things I got, and it actually, made me think a little bit. It was winter, and I wasn't surprised. No, I'm kidding. Gotten it, and in all honesty, like the takeaway I had from it was pretty cool, because when I elaborated on it, it wasn't that you had to win all the time. It was more so just having a competitive mindset and just being competitive with yourself enough to want to grow and to want to do better. And then I also had coach, so that kind of tied into things that I really like to do when it comes to like making people around me better, like helping out new hires and taking care of stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it made my ego go up quite a bit.
Well, hey, that's exactly what this test was for, to boost you up, buddy. So I'm glad that it was effective. But no, I love hearing that a lot of you have coach, right? And when you look at the coach strength, there's a lot to it, right? And I think when we think development, though, and I want to be crystal clear on this, because pathing from rep to CE to coach is not the only path here at T-Mobile, right? And there are so many different opportunities for us to use that coach strength, though, in the world that we live in here at T-Mobile, whether you're pathing towards RP or you're pathing towards analyst or accounting or any of the opportunities that you have at T-Mobile, you're going to be working with people, right? And essentially a coach strength quality is one that you're able to kind of bring people along with you, right? It's not just about you, it's about the others around you and how it impacts you. So who else? I'll give us one more, and then I'll let Red wrap it up. Sam, you're up.
All right. So mine was catalyst, optimist, storyteller, focus expert, and commander. So I agree with all of those except for focus expert, because I feel like I'm definitely, especially development wise, I feel like I'm trying to look in a lot of directions, and it's very hard for me to just pinpoint on one thing, which I'm working on. But that one kind of surprised me. Catalyst, I'm not surprised with, because it kind of I'm always told that like I'm a mama bear, I'm a problem solver. So like for me to always try to look for something that's, how can I fix something? How can I start something and make a change with something that's broken, right? Because if something's not working, you have to change it. So that's kind of my big thing. And I've actually talked to Red about this. If they're, if you don't like the way something is, like career wise, or, even within your peer group or your professional group, what can you do to be the change, right? Instead of just going and talking about it, be about it. What can you do to make a change that's impactful? And then the optimist one, I'm not surprised with as well, because anybody that knows me knows that I live and breathe positivity. You have a choice every morning. You can wake up and choose to be happy and thankful and grateful and look for good things in your life, or you can choose to be miserable. And focus on what's negative. Everybody has stuff going on, right? You have to choose what's good and focus on what's good, and kind of look at those things. And that's kind of how I've always been since I was little. And I feel that definitely helps me development wise. So I think that this test was pretty spot on, except for the focus expert one, just because I'm a little all over the place, but.
I love it. Red, you want it? Or you want to let me
I-
give my little spiel that I gave last night on the game? Because I think she just nailed it on that.
Well, you know what? Who said Sharples was a good, teacher? Because seriously, but
Hey, there she is.
let's get this out right now. All right, she's pointing at
On the
all of her
table.
people. Mike, you know what? There was something we didn't cover last night, and so before you do your bit, which is going to be powerful, I'm going to introduce another catchphrase as it pertains to this, because I think between Katie, Sean, and then Sam's piece. So there's this other catchphrase when we talk about strengths. It's called balcony and basement. And for my Magenta 4 folks, you may have remembered we spent like 3 minutes on it. So balcony and basement just means that the balcony obviously is when you are in the zone. Your talent is playing exceptionally well. You know, you got everything is harmonic. It's really good. But basement is when your talent is just not. You're not locked into it. It's there, but it doesn't seem to be working. And what really, you know, peaked that for me was when Sam talked about that focus piece, right? I would say if you were to look at that, Sam, possibly and say, well, when was that focus? Like, if there are moments where, hey, this was the thing, and I'm intensely focused on it. And I, you know, when I get into this zone, I miss nothing. But then, you know, when there's a million things, that's a moment to realize you're in a basement piece. This is when your talent is not working in harmony with you. And, you know, so for a lot of us, we don't, and shit, I'm going into my closing statement, Mike. So now I'm scared. But we don't, I don't think we walk through our life intentionally and, you know, and consciously aware that you're walking through as a talented individual, that everything you do is an extension of some of these inborn talents that you have. And so sometimes you just think, well, shit's happening to me, or and here's what I've heard a lot, I'm just not good at. I don't think I'm good at. But the true question isn't whether you're good at it, is are you in harmony with your talent and or not? And if you're not, okay, let's just, you know, step back and be objective and say, well, what would have to change within me? Which, by the way, I love that, Sam, right? What can I control? And then how do I want to reapproach this? So I wanted to just share that with you because you know, we're talking about talents and we're talking about strengths, but it's really not a cape wearing superhero moment. It's just about being really in tune with yourself and knowing yourself at this intimate level as an individual, as a contributor to whatever cause or whatever corporation or whatever you know, entity you belong to. And those are oftentimes when you meet these folks that have that kind of self-knowledge and self-awareness, you notice it. And that's really what we were driving at. So that balcony basement thing, I wanted to bring in there to give you yet another way to look at who you are and where you are at this moment. But that's not too much.
I like it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. So Sandy also triggered a thought process of mine that I brought up yesterday, and I'll highlight it again today. And just that everybody in this room is a role player on a team somewhere, whether it's your community, whether it's your team of 10, whether it's Oakland, whether it's training, right? We're all part of a team essentially, right? And what I will say is sometimes I like to think of T-Mobile as a game. And you can look at it in whatever type of game you want. It can be a basketball game, football game, be a board game. You could be playing Monopoly. You could be playing Halo or Call of Duty, right? Whatever you're into. But at the end of the day, you want to win all those games that you're playing, right? You play to win. You don't play to lose, right? You play to win. And in every one of those games, you have to make choices, right? You have to make choices on how you play the game and whether you decide or care to win or whether or not you decide or care to play to your strengths or your team's strengths, right? And I challenge you all to walk away from this and to try and put that in perspective and look at yourself when you go out of this and to use self-reflection and to have that self-awareness of what is my role? What role do I play here? And how can I use it and leverage it to win the game? How can I help my team win? How can I help me win? And when you can really, truly harness that and get in a place where Red's talking about, you know, balcony and harmony, you know, that's when you're at your best. That's when the people around you are at their best. That's when you bring people along with you, especially those of you that have coach and empathizer and, you know, leader, all those things that, you know, you're helping others. Like that's when you're going to bring people along with you. And that's what it's all about, is how do I help not only myself, the others around me, but the future too. And it doesn't just mean T-Mobile. Like that's life. That's like with your families, kids. That's, you know, any, you know, stuff you do from a social responsibility thing. Like all that applies to that too. So, you know, my challenge to you, and I'm going to give it to Zim to wrap it up, is just, you know, communicate, guys. Reach out to your coaches. Tell them that you've identified these things. Tell them you want to work on this stuff. John is in here. Zim's in here. Red's in here. I'm in here. Reach out to us, right? Loop us in. Let us know how we can help you. I'll challenge the shit out of you. Trust me. You know, like that's my commitment to you. But we're here, and you know, now that you've been able to identify these things, harness it, aim it, and go do something with it. And now I'm not. That's all I got to say. Later.
No, that's awesome. Now, all I wanted to share with this group quickly, as you can all imagine, in my role as a recruiter, I get a lot of people that like to give me a call and swing by my desk and talk about their future. And I'm tired of what I'm doing. I want to go do something else. And we touched on this even, I think, in the opening. A big part of having that continuation conversation of where you want to end up is knowing who you are and knowing what you want to do and what you're good at. Because it's fine to say, I want to be a brain surgeon. But if you know you don't have a skill set that's going to lead you to be able to focus on the books and have a steady hand that's going to give you the ability to help save lives, and that might not be where you're going to be successful. And people are happiest where they're most successful. So identifying these strengths and finding out where your passion needs to be so that you can direct it, as they're talking about, point it, right? Or direct it. Give me it again, Red. What's the 3?
Aim it.
Oh,
Claim it and aim it. Aim it. Thank you.
Aim it.
You were doing
Like
the
an
archer. I
arrow.
missed it. I missed it.
Yeah.
Now it all makes sense. Now it all makes sense. I thought you
he's
were
in
just
his
flexing for
basement.
me, but having that ability to truly and be confident, right? That's the hardest part. And I know Red talked about this last night, and if he threw it in this morning, I apologize. But most people aren't comfortable talking about what they're good at. Most people, when they get called out on the carpet, hey, tell me what you're great. When I do interviews with people, I swear to God, people are much easily able to tell me what they suck at versus what they're great at. Because people are afraid they're going to get called on the carpet to be like, prove it. And now you've got to actually think about these things in a overconfident or cocky manner. And I don't want to come across that way. To hell with that. You should know what you're good at, because you should know how you're going to direct that to have the impact on your life you want it to be. So take this exercise and walk away with it as partly, at least, of having some confidence, of some identification of things that you could name off if you want to figure out how you would apply it to a certain role, a certain position, and let that help build your path. I'm going to shut up and let Mike wrap things here.
He meant you, Red. You're also Mike.
Okay, I'll be Mike. No, listen. So, hey, first, thank you guys. I opened up with the significance and importance that you came to this discussion today. To me, was one of the biggest accomplishments and achievements of this program, and it still cannot be understated or overstated. And I want to close again with thanking you so much for your time. I want to thank Mike for guiding us through this conversation and really kind of challenging us at times and finding those insights. And remember, kind of after everything you shared, remember that you're all born with talents. Talents aren't something you acquire. You are a complete package at the get-go. It's about getting in tune, getting comfortable with, and then becoming intentional. And those are where your talents then become strengths. I love Mike's part about don't necessarily do all of this on your own. If you find a particular talent that you want to spend time on, reach out to your coach, to your manager, to somebody, and say, "Here's what it looks like. Here's what I think. What do you think?" And those partnerships can be explosive and dynamic. Next month, we're moving on to. He pauses for dramatic effect. Assume full responsibility for yourself. It's a big one, guys. It's really crazy, and it's one of my favorites as well. So I will send out that one pager at the close of this meeting, so you guys can kind of start to get acclimated to that. I want to do real quick show of hands. How many of you guys have subscribed to our YouTube channel? Is
I
it everyone?
haven't.
No, you haven't.
I need to.
Today's your lucky day. Please click on the link. All right.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. If you like, click on the link there. If you have your phone on you, go to our Slack channel and go up into the upper left corner where the pin drop down list is. So if you click under EmpowerMe, you'll see a pinned image from Red, shared by Sharples, April 4th. And there is a QR code, so you can hold your phone up to it. But so, guys, we understand that this program, although simple, can be difficult when it comes to finding that extra time. And so we're committed to recording our review sessions and sharing them. But let's be honest, it's still an hour to find for a lot of our participants. So we've partnered with Greg and the team, and we've started putting together short 5 to 6 minute segments, and we're calling them podcasts, but they're not real fancy, guys. But it's just like moments and thoughts that align with what we're going through. So we want to give that to you so that it can kind of also just give you multiple options in which to kind of get intrigued, get your creativity spiked, or to get you really thinking. So, but it won't work if we don't have subscribers, and I need subscribers to tell me what's missing. What would you like to see? So can I get a commitment from those of y'all that haven't subscribed, you will?
Yes.
Yes,
definitely.
cool beans. And then those of you that have subscribed, use the comment section or jump us in Slack and let us know what's missing. Okay? Because I'm
I
putting my
just subscribed.
yes. I'm putting my Katie Reed hat on and I want the feedback. All right.
Red's
I'll be honest,
trending.
I didn't even realize there was a YouTube channel to subscribe to. So
But y'all are part of some pretty sophisticated stuff here in Oakland. We don't mess around. All right. So that's it. That's it. Other than, again, my extreme love for you guys. I believe in you. Thank you so much for joining us on the journey. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you soon.
Bye,
Thanks for the
guys.
time.
Hey,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Guys, thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great weekend.